up, world? Welcome to Essential Conversations, where today we're going to jump into the world of voting. What's the importance of voting? And we have a special guest. Hey, MK, who we got?
We tapping in with our girl, Mikaela Nix, who's running for Circuit Court Judge.
I love your hair.
She's showing out for us. I already appreciate it.
I talked to John again today, and he loves you. He talks so highly of you. We talked for about 30 minutes. He was like, she's just great, and what she's got going on now, running for judge, I love it. So we're gonna have to.
We found out some legal issues when I first started practicing, and so they were very, hopefully, obviously, I did a pretty good job for him. So
nice.
I'm very excited that he still remembers that, and more excited that he's telling people about me.
Well, we'll probably actually come back around to you again. We actually started a new nonprofit today called Beecham Cares, where we're going to do a lot of stuff in the city. And he brought your name up about getting involved with just different ways to help out different different aspects that we want to do in the community. So
I want you to do a straw poll. Listen to me. There has not been an urban straw poll. So what ends up happening, if you Google this when you guys have time, people do hobnobs. So the Winter Park Chamber, the African American Chamber, Hispanic Chamber, these little groups, they do something called a hobnob. You pay money, so that would help your nonprofit. And then all of the candidates bring people. They're $10 a ticket. So they will say, we're doing a straw poll for sheriff. So now Joe Lopez, John Hede, everybody's going to try to come because there's never been one for urban, like a black one. There's just not been a one. I think that you should be the first one, or your group should be the first one to do it. It should be something that you guys do on an annual basis, on an election basis, that will drive people to you, one, getting your nonprofit organization some notoriety, but more than that, you guys will be the first people to do it. Nobody, I just don't understand.
I'm actually going to bring that up to him. Let me write that down.
Go ahead and write that down.
Let me write that down because I'm going to bring that up to him.
And that way, one, that's money. So people want to come and participate because the candidate wants any type of win that they can. They can say, they want to say, I won the urban straw poll, and they want to blast that on their Facebook, right? I sent you my endorsement from the Orlando Sentinel, which I'm just so proud of.
I've seen that.
So proud for that. But you see what I mean? Orlando Sentinel, they are endorsing people. Everybody wants, all the candidates want to be endorsed for winning a straw poll. And that is a great way to make money for your nonprofit organization. Furthermore, that's a way for you to connect to the community. And it's also good for the candidate because they can say that they won this urban straw poll. You don't have to call it an urban straw poll, by the way. That's throwing that out there.
But it's straw poll like the technical, like what it technically, like if I looked up to do all the research on it and stuff like that, that's what I would put in.
That's what happens. That's what it is.
Yeah, let me write that down.
An Apopka women's group, right? It's doing a straw poll, and it was $300. And guess what? Every single candidate came and paid that $300 because everybody wants to be a part of a straw poll. So that's the missing factor, I think, that our group is missing. We may have these judicial things, but there's no money. No one's paying you guys.
Right.
And I'm not saying money's important, but I heard nonprofit.
Yeah.
That's what I am. So what you need is people to say, yes, I want to come to that because I'm getting something out of the deal. When I leave, I will be able to say, I won the 104.5 The Beat straw poll, or I won, what's your name of your nonprofit?
Beecham Cares.
B2K, pardon?
Beecham Cares. Like the club cares.
Beecham Cares. Beecham Cares.
Beecham Cares.
So, Beecham could do a straw poll, right? They have enough people. You
Definitely.
can partner up with 104.5 The Beat. You can partner up with other local organizations. You can partner up with barbershops. You can host it somewhere. You can have food. You can really make it. So, at the Apopka straw poll, they have food. You got to do something for $300, right?
Right.
So, they're going to give you food. They're going to have music there. Perfect example, you can invite your DJ friend to come out. The DJ, everybody can win on this. And I just don't see any of us doing a straw poll.
Right. No, I didn't even know what it was until you actually just mentioned it. And I think that's one of the most important reasons why we wanted to have this conversation with you, because there's just a lot of, I think when it comes to like elections, voting, in our community, there's a lot of blurred lines, or it's just that we're not educated enough about how to even go about certain things. Like I was, it's funny enough, I was telling MK earlier when we got here. I said, don't you know I looked at my voter's registration today and it said inactive? I said, I don't even know what that means. And as I did research, it was like I could vote, but there's the possibility that they could pull my voter registration before it's time to vote and 29-day period and all this. So I was just so confused about even how to go about getting that overturned. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people, young African Americans, young people in general, that don't know what any of this means or how to even go about it. So I thought that now was the time to have that conversation, especially when we're starting to see a lot of news about Kentucky doing their primaries, and you're seeing Georgia doing their primaries, and there's certain things that are happening in these primaries that if I were standing in the line at 6 o'clock, they closed the door, I would have just walked away because I thought, okay, well, it's closed, I didn't make it in time, not knowing the rule was I was in line, so technically I still could vote. So it's like, I think there's a lot of questions that people have that we would like to educate them on, and that's why I was like, this is the perfect time for us to have a conversation. Right. The vote.
Another thing is that when you're voting, when most people get registered to vote, MK, I'm sure he was 18 years old, right? You're doing it in high school sometime. And so what ends up happening is sometimes your signature changes. And so at the bank, if you try to cash a check and your signature changes, they will either decline that check or they'll pick up the phone and say, hey, this signature doesn't match. Well, at the voters election, the Office of Supervisor Elections, they don't do that. If your signature doesn't match because it was when you were 18 years old and you did some different signature, your vote doesn't even count. And they don't tell you.
They don't tell you.
So now so people don't even know that you may want to go back and just look at your signature card because when you were 18 and now you are 20, 30, you may sign different.
Right.
You didn't even know what you were signing, and so all this time you thought you were voting until you get something that you go to the elections office and you say, hey, my vote was kicked back for signature.
Mm-hmm.
So those are other little small things that people just don't think about anymore. They're not really, honestly, they're just not publicizing it, to tell you the truth.
Right.
So it's not even like, to get the information it's somewhere. They're just not really kind of telling you. I mean, when I say that, right, they will say, oh, we have classes all the time. People are just not engaging. And I would counter that with, you're not engaging on the platforms that most people are looking at.
Right.
But you may be using something, an archaic method that most people are not looking at a newspaper, right? Most people are not looking at an article. You're not putting that on the Orange County Supervisor Elections on your Facebook, right? That's
right.
That's why I told the Supervisor Election, post those things on your Facebooks, your social media, on your websites. Those are some of the things that you should be posting on there. Frequently asked questions. I talked to our Supervisor for Elections, and he has agreed. Like, we need a frequently asked questions. People are not going to go to that site. They're not reading all the.
People's attention is not there. The
right.
attention span is not there, especially young people that live on social media. It's just not.
They're not. And to be honest with you, I'm not.
That's real. That's real.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, like, when I searched for all the information about inactive, I was getting, like, 5 different websites, 5 different stories, and then I just got tired to the point where I was like, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just re-register and update my information and mail it in, and just hopefully by that time it comes back and I'm active on there. But
I just want you to go to Kaylee. Like, you live in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Go downtown. It's right from Kaylee's, right by the hospital on Orange Avenue. Downtown. Go there. You know that day. I don't want you to wait around. I don't want you to wait around to see nothing around. You have, whenever you get a little time, a little break, say, you know what? I'm just going to run up here myself. Nobody's really there because of COVID. I just went up there.
Right.
Go there and you get that settled that day. What I have found is the Supervisor for Election, this is off camera. They are very disorganized. And I don't want you to now miss your vote, quote unquote, because they messed up your paperwork or you didn't get it in time and now it's before the July 30th deadline to vote.
Right, because that's why I was like, I know July is coming, and I know I need to have everything in order before July. I just kept telling myself July. I didn't know it was July 30th till now, but I knew July was the date I needed to have things in order.
It's the 20th.
The 20th.
The deadline to register is July the 20th for your primary election. That's the August one. And October the 5th for your November.
For November.
I'll make sure I say that.
Okay. Well, where I want to start with is why did you're running for, and I'm gonna read it because I'd always butcher it, but you're running for circuit court judge. That's correct. Why did you choose to run for that position?
First, I want to talk about what is circuit court,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to start there because a lot of times people don't even know what circuit court, county court, what are the differences between those two. So circuit court is what we call your court of general jurisdiction. It's going to comprise mostly of your jury trials. It's going to be family, probate, guardianship, juvenile dependency. It's going to have your criminal, it's going to have civil, in cases that arise over $15,000. As opposed to your county courts that don't hear those things. They hear items and cases that arise under $15,000. They're hearing a lot of your misdemeanor cases.
I see.
Right? So the circuit court is a larger court.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to comprise of many more divisions than your county court level. Your circuit court also includes more than just one county. So our 9th circuit comprises Orange and Osceola County.
Okay.
So that's your 9th circuit. So you are in the 9th circuit. And so I decided to do this because I believe that the judicial process should be accessible and friendly to all. The courtroom can be a very scary place, and I don't want it to be. So when I decided to run, I've always been very active in the community. I knew at a very young age that service was my calling. In fact, it's in my DNA. My family's been here since 1887, and I can remember my family talking about community and helping the community all the way since being a little girl. And so I knew that service was important. And as an attorney, I've done many service projects. I've been a value to the community. And I think as a judge, I can take it to the next level when it comes to service. Television tends not to really show you what's actually in the courthouse and what the public actually sees. I would like to see more young people in the courtroom. I can remember being inspired by my father, who was really big on civic duty. And he took me to a courthouse and during his jury duty, and I fell in love. I mean, it was the atmosphere, the bailiffs, the attorneys advocating. And even though I didn't have a person that looked like me in that courtroom at that time, I told my dad, I'm going to be a judge. And at first, he kind of looked at me and kind of laughed. And then he said, well, if you're going to be a judge, just remember that nobody's perfect and no one wants to be judged by someone who thinks that they are. And believe it or not, that really stuck with me. And so when I went off to law school and even in my practice now, I tried my best to realize that people make mistakes and to try to be fair and honest. And so when I went with my dad to that court experience, he then followed up with me and he said, okay, Mikaela, this is what you want to do. He put me with another judge. And to this day, I thank my father for that. I thank my dad for recognizing that that was my goal and my dream, and then aiding me, even though he may not have had judicial experience or he's not a lawyer, you know. And so he mirrored me with one of his friends, and they took me to work. Take your daughter to work day. So he was my surrogate father for that time period. And man, I got backroom court access, and I knew that day that if God was willing, that I would be a judge. And so that's the kind of experience that I want others to have in the courtroom. It's very important. And so, if nothing else, I believe that the bench should reflect the community. And when people can see their peers are represented on the bench, it makes the entire process more equitable.
It seems like it would put people more at ease. Just visualizing that, it feels like it would put people more at ease, like I'm going to have a fair shot.
Right.
That's correct. That's correct. And the law is the law, right? So the law is not going to change because of someone's skin color.
Right.
It is the perception of fairness. And that perception can become people's reality.
Now, if elected, you would be the first African American woman to be elected to, specifically, would it be the 9th Circuit Court, or would it be in pretty much, I guess, or Central Florida?
So that's a great question. And so I want to clarify. I will be the first elected African American to run in a contested race. So when you're talking about judges, there are 2 ways that a person can become a judge. The first way is through an appointment process, and that is a 6-year term early for an undetermined amount of time, just depending. And then a JNC, or Judicial Nominating Commission, will host an interview. So that those lawyers will put in some very, very detailed applications. They will hold a interview process. That JNC, which is comprised of lawyers and some non-lawyers, will then send those names up to the governor, and the governor will make a final selection. And so that is one way that you can become a judge. The second way that you can become a judge is through an elected process. And that process is running against someone else. There has never been an African American woman that has run against another opponent and won. The only person that's African American that has been able to do that was in 1991, and that was former Chief Judge Belvin Perry.
Oh,
So
wow.
we've had a long gap.
Right.
And it's very crucial that we show people, especially lawyers, that we can come out and we can run and we can win. And this is a process that is the second way to get to become a judge. So those are the two ways that you can become a judge. I am choosing to run, meaning I am choosing to be elected on a ballot, and I am running against an opponent.
And you're on the ballot in this coming up primaries in August, right?
That's correct.
Correct. So,
Talk about that a little bit.
yeah, when I was reading through your website and some research that I've been sent, I was seeing words like is it bipartisan or yeah, but it's like and for me, like I was telling you before, like I got a master's degree, I've been to college, but some of these words are very challenging. I don't understand what some of this means, and when I feel like when it comes to primaries and we go to the polls and we're going to vote, we sometimes don't even know what any of that information says. We just know a name, you click, or you might even just hit whole Democratic Party or whole Republican Party. You're not
Across the board.
You don't know anything, so you're just gonna hit one button. And I feel like some of these words are a little challenging. So can you explain to me exactly what that means to be non-bipartisan?
Great. So you're going to see the word nonpartisan. And so nonpartisan means that the candidate who is running for that seat is not going to have a Republican nor a Democrat or any other party affiliation by their name.
Got it.
That position does not require a person, nor should you want it to be honest, to be in a party. They should be a neutral person. They are not party-based. And as a judge, you have to understand that role should be impartial. And that role should not be dictated by the political process. And that's also can be with your school board members. They are normally in non-partisan races, meaning if you see a school board person that's running, you will not see a party next to their name.
Got it.
That is also for some of your city officials, your local city officials as well, your commissioners. Those are non-partisan, meaning they don't have a party affiliation connected to them. And that is what in August you will see on your ballot. Now, it's very important to know, well, what if I'm an independent? What if I don't have a party and in the primaries? Can I still vote? You can still vote, because non-partisan means that there is no party affiliation. And so on an independence ballot, they will have everyone who is non-partisan. So people who are not running as a Democratic in any type of election, nor are they running as a Republican in any type of election, those remaining candidates will be on that independence ballot.
I see.
And so you will be able to vote for your judges, your school board officials, any non-partisan candidate. And so it's very important that independents know that, because what I've heard when I'm knocking on doors and talking to people, well, I'm an independent, I can't vote in a primary. And so that is true. Florida is a closed primary state, meaning if you are not in a party, then you cannot pick who will be representing in either of those capacities. However, your non-partisan races that don't identify with a Democrat or a Republican, they can vote in. And so it's very imperative that they understand that, and so that they still come out in August to vote for those crucial, essential areas, such as your judges, that are nonpartisan in nature. And so I think it's very important that we mention that although Florida is a close primary state, your nonpartisan races are races that don't identify with a party such as Republican or Democrat. If you do not have an RD by your name, you can still vote for your judges and your other city and local officials, school boards that are running in non-partisan races.
I'm glad you cleared that up, because it's everything I'm reading is exactly how you said it. And if you're in our age, like we said, like nobody pays attention or reads enough to know. And everything I'm reading is saying if you don't have a party, then it's a closed part. We're a closed party state. So it's like, I'm glad you clarified that, because now people that are independent, and sometimes even understanding what that means, like Democratic, Republican, Independent, Green, Blue, Red, like they give you so many options that it's like it can become confusing. And I think that is definitely a piece of information that a lot of people did not know. I guess, where do people find information about who is going to be on the ballot in this coming primary in August?
Great. So this is another position that is a nonpartisan position. It's your supervisor of election. So your supervisor of election is the person that pretty much puts on their website. They talk about different things. Tallahassee, the electoral in Tallahassee. But I would always start with your local offices. So I would start with your supervisor of election in Orange County. I would start with your supervisor of election in Osceola County. Each county has a supervisor of election, of a person that's over the whole election process. And you can even go down there, as we were discussing before. Mm-hmm. You don't have to mail in items. They are amazing. Right there on Payne Street downtown. They are very helpful. They're excited to help you. I found, at least in my dealings, they're very excited. They want you to know. They want you to learn. So you can pick up the phone and you can call them. You can email. In this day and age, you can also just go there. And those are going to be important as early voting is starting. So people, as early as July 15th, will start getting some ballots. If they don't feel comfortable voting on August 18th, they can vote by mail.
Okay. No, I definitely think I love this type of conversation, just because I remember telling you before, in my family, I come from a family where my grandfather was somebody that counted jelly beans, counted pennies, counted random things that he would go down to election office and they would tell him that he still could not vote. So in my family, it's always been very important for us to be able to know we have the right and to actually go down there and let your voice be heard. But for me, it's always been that educational aspect of not knowing where to find some of the very important information.
I mean, that's just key. Brittany, people have died.
Mm-hmm.
For people to have the right to.
Exactly.
Super fundamental. It's super important. And as we discussed, it's a fundamental right. And so you want to make sure that you are voting, and especially your local election, these are things that impact your everyday life. Mm-hmm. And so we talk about these national elections and all of those things are important. But you want to make sure that you are coming out to your local elections, because they are the elections that are really affecting your day-to-day life. Courts exist to protect people and their rights, to guarantee freedness, and everyone decide their needs and access to the courthouse. And so you want to make sure that you are having that same access, and you want to make sure that you are researching, doing background checks, like you talked about, you and MK, that this is super important. So research and knowledge is going to really come to play in there, and what their perspectives are on the bench are also are key and important.
And I definitely love that we're in this millennial age where we can do things like this and use our platforms and use other people's platforms to be able to take you to people that we know that you might not know, or get you in another realm or another world of people that have the itch and want to know more, but just haven't done the footwork to get that information yet. And that's why I think conversations like this are, and being able to, in the midst of COVID, we gonna make a way.
Hello.
We gonna make a way to still get that information out there. And I just want to say I thank you for taking the steps to even go in the direction. It's a big.
It's very brave.
It's very brave. Yes,
you're
it's
very calm,
brave.
but it's very brave to step out in that way.
It is, and my sister is a lawyer. So when you say you went to the courtroom, like she would be like invite me to come to court cases, and I would sit there. And you're absolutely right. Like for some, I could see where it was intimidating, but for me, I was like I had court TV, and I'm just sitting there so excited.
You got VIP.
I had VIP. They told me I couldn't have no snacks. I had my little snack bag over here. But I wanted to know more about what she did and understand how it worked. And you're right. If you've never been in one, it could be an intimidating process, especially talking to somebody that has to give you a judgment about something that you did and you don't know what they're going to say. So I definitely agree with MK. It's definitely something super brave. And any way that we can get as much information out there for you, we are here at your disposal, because this is a part of, like you said, you do service. And I feel like for us, we use these platforms, we use our voices, we use whatever we're involved in to be able to do service in addition to whatever else our minds run on.
How can we support?
We always want to support.
I want you guys to know that what you're doing right now is super important. Your platforms, just a small little snippet could increase someone's knowledge a lot. So
exactly.
Whether you guys know it or not, you're impacting people. You're changing lives. And so what you're doing and the messages you and everything are doing right now is just crucial. And so how you guys can help is to go to www.nix2020.com. That's my website. And I always like people to know qualifications. So it's amazing to talk about historical things and how we will be, first African American and an opposed race to win. But it's also important to talk about qualifications. And so before we leave here, I want the voters of Orange and Osceola County to know some of the reasons that I think I am qualified to be the next Ninth Circuit court judge. And some of those reasons are, in my practice area, I do family law. Family law hits every division. So family law is really general. So being a family law attorney, I have worked in domestic violence, whether that's the criminal area or civil domestic violence. I've worked with probate, where I've had fathers who passed away, and making sure that the child now that may or may not have been born legitimate, quote unquote, those rights transfer or those assets transfer to that child. Juvenile dependency, juvenile mental health has been important when you talk about families. Civil, when you're talking about dissolution of marriages, you have partnerships sometimes. So when you're in a divorce, sometimes it's you, your wife, and your business. And I've dealt with those types of cases as well. And that arises when you're dealing with family law. So family probate, when someone passes away, bankruptcy, all of these items are going to be, you're going to keep those in family law. And I've dealt with every single division in that courtroom. Another distinction is I have over 60 bench trials experience. I'm in the courtroom very, very often. As a family law lawyer, you're in the courtroom, pretty much every single day. So I'm actually in the courtroom day in, day out to see the proceedings that are being conducted, to look around and see the people and how they are interpreting. Finally, I deal with a lot of pro se folks. What does that mean? So that means that people who may not have an attorney. And I think that's very important when you're talking about a judge who will be dealing with the public. And a lot of times they're not going to have an advocate with them. They're not going to have an attorney. They're coming to court for some small case, or they're coming to court without a lawyer. And being able to deal with people in the community, I do that every single day. Whether that is sitting on the Orange County Charter Review Commission, where I did that in 2016, sitting on multiple boards, University of Central Florida Black Alumni President, Lutheran, the Orlando Lutheran Towers, the Senior Citizens Facility, a former board member, whether it's being the floor president of the Citrus Club here in Orlando. There's just so many avenues. The Law Explorers, part of the Boys and Girls Group. These are the things that I want you to make sure that you're looking about your judges or any other official that you're looking at. Qualification and service matters. I can't say that enough and enough. And that's why MK and Brittany, I'm so like, wow, you guys are doing great, because service matters. And it is hard. It is courageous to put yourself out there, but it should be, because serving is a privilege.
Absolutely.
I thank you guys so much for even having me today.
No, thank you.
Absolutely. I just want to ask you one more question, because like I said, this is the first interview that we've done in showing support of voting and just kind of spreading awareness. So I just wanted to ask you, for us, what more can we do? How can we be involved on another level?
She like, I got you.
So one thing that we're doing right now is we're hanging out yard signs. So it's COVID-19, and so if there's anybody who wanted anything, you guys can contact the committee. The JPAC has very strict rules on what I can and I can't say. So I would go to mix2020.com, and I would go onto the website. There's a plethora of things that you can do, such as volunteering. We're walking on Saturday at Popka, and we walk every Saturday in different communities. Maybe that's a community around your neighborhood that you'd like to join the walk. There may be instances where there are some community events that you would like me to go to. You can invite me to. All of those things are important, as I can't necessarily ask anyone to do anything. Those are part of our judicial rules, but you guys definitely can. So I encourage you to call in our 407-476-5131, talking to the committee, and they can tell you a plethora of different ways for you guys to get involved. And just sharing this would be very helpful as well.
Cool.
For sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. I look forward to having your straw poll.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Now make sure that you watch all our videos on our YouTube page. Subscribe right now. Word Crush with a K.